Alright, I'm about to tell you something that will change the way you see everything. And when I say everything, I mean it. You might think you know how the world works, but trust me, what you've been told. It's just the surface. The truth? It's deeper. Way deeper. And the craziest part? No one talks about it. Or at least, they don't want you to talk about it. You ever get that feeling that something just doesn't add up? Like, there's this invisible hand pulling the strings behind the scenes. Well, you're not crazy. That feeling, it's real. And once you start connecting the dots, it's impossible to unsee it. Let's start with the basics. Control. Everything in your daily life is controlled. The food you eat, the news you watch, even the thoughts you have, carefully curated. You think you're making your own choices, but are you? Or are those choices being made for you without you even realizing it? Think about this. Why is it that every major world event, every crisis, always seems to benefit the same small group of people? Wars, economic crashes, even pandemics, it's always the elite, the powerful, who come out on top. Coincidence? Please. Nothing this big happens by accident. And the people pulling the strings? They've been doing it for centuries, and here's where it gets wild. There are organizations, real, documented organizations, that operate in the shadows. Groups with more power than entire governments. Ever heard of the Bilderberg Group? They meet every year in total secrecy. No cameras, no press, no public record of what's discussed. But the people who attend? Presidents. Prime ministers. CEOs of the world's largest corporations. Why do they need that much secrecy? What are they deciding behind closed doors? And it's not just them. The Council on Foreign Relations. The Trilateral Commission. And the most infamous of them all, the Illuminati. Yeah, I know. You've probably heard the word thrown around as some kind of joke. But let me ask you this, why would they go out of their way to make it sound ridiculous? It's the perfect cover. Make people laugh at the truth, and they'll never believe it when it's right in front of them. And if you think these groups are just social clubs, think again. Their decisions shape the world. Wars have been started. Leaders have been overthrown. Entire economies have been manipulated. And the average person? We're just pawns in their game, but here's the part they don't want you to know. The world as we see it, it's a facade. There's another layer underneath, one they keep hidden. And if you start digging, you'll find traces of it everywhere. Symbols, patterns, codes hidden in plain sight. Ever noticed how certain symbols keep showing up in movies, music videos, even corporate logos? That's not by accident. It's called predictive programming, showing us the truth in bits and pieces to desensitize us, so when it finally happens, we don't even question it. And speaking of symbols, let's talk about the pyramid and the all-seeing eye. It's everywhere. On the back of the US dollar bill, in the logos of massive companies, even in the architecture of major cities. And you know what it represents? Control from the top. The eye at the top of the pyramid sees everything. The rest of us? We're the base, holding it all up while they watch from above, and it's not just modern times. This goes back thousands of years. Ancient civilizations knew things we're only beginning to rediscover. Look at the pyramids of Egypt. Perfectly aligned with the stars, built with technology we still can't fully explain. What did they know that we don't? And why is that knowledge being suppressed? And here's where it gets even stranger. Ever heard of the Great Reset? It's not a theory, it's an actual agenda, openly discussed by the World Economic Forum. They talk about reimagining society, changing the way we live, work, and even own things. Their slogan? You'll own nothing, and you'll be happy. Let that sink in. Who benefits from a world where you own nothing? Hint, it's not you, and while we're at it, ever wonder why billionaires are obsessed with space? Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, they're pouring billions into leaving Earth. What do they know that we don't? And why the sudden rush? Some say they're preparing for something. Something big. And the rest of us? We're being left in the dark. But here's the real question, why? Why go through all this trouble to keep us distracted and controlled? Because knowledge is power. If people knew the truth, if they really understood how much of their reality is manipulated, it would be game over for the elite. They thrive on our ignorance. And the second we start waking up, their whole system starts to crumble, and they know this. That's why there's so much disinformation out there. They mix lies with truth, make it impossible to know what's real. And if you start asking questions, you're a conspiracy theorist, a label designed to discredit anyone who gets too close to the truth. But here's the thing, they can't hide everything. Not forever. And once you see the patterns, you can't unsee them. The world is not what it seems, and the people in power, they're not working for us. They never were, but here's where it gets even stranger, because once you start connecting the dots, the picture that emerges is almost too big to comprehend. The deeper you dig, the more you realize how much of what we accept as reality has been carefully crafted. It's not just the media, not just the government, it's everything. And the most unsettling part, they don't want you to question it. Think about the systems that govern our lives. Our education, our finances, our health care. Every aspect of society is designed to keep you within specific boundaries. Ever wonder why? Because people who question the system are a threat. If you wake up and start seeing the patterns, you begin to realize that the truth has been hidden in plain sight all along. Let's talk about power. Real power isn't what they show you on the news. It's not politicians arguing or celebrities making headlines. The real power lies behind the scenes, in the hands of a few who understand how to manipulate the masses without ever revealing their true agenda. These are the people who shape the narrative, who decide what information reaches you and what stays buried. And here's the thing, once you know too much, you can't unsee it. Every major historical event, every global crisis, every sudden shift in public perception, ask yourself, who benefits? Who stands to gain the most? The answers will always lead you to the same shadowy figures pulling the strings. Even technology, something we rely on every day, is part of their plan. Your phone, your computer, even your smart home devices, they're not just tools for convenience. They're surveillance systems. Data collection isn't just about marketing, it's about control. Every search you make, every conversation you have, every place you visit, all of it is being recorded, analyzed, and stored. Why? Because knowledge is power, and the more they know about you, the easier you are to manipulate. And what about the distractions? Have you ever wondered why entertainment is so pervasive, so addictive? It's not an accident. If you keep people entertained, distracted, and divided, they won't have the time or energy to question the bigger picture. And if anyone dares to speak out, to challenge the narrative, they're silenced. Labeled as crazy, a conspiracy theorist, or worse. But the truth doesn't go away just because it's inconvenient. If anything, the harder they try to hide it, the more obvious it becomes. And once you start paying attention, the evidence is everywhere. Old documents, declassified files, leaked reports, it's all there for those willing to look, and here's the chilling part, this isn't new. It's been happening for centuries. Secret societies, hidden agendas, the manipulation of entire civilizations. And every time the truth starts to surface, it's buried again under layers of disinformation. They rewrite history, erase inconvenient facts, and replace them with a version that suits their purpose. But here's where things take a darker turn. If everything we've been told is a carefully constructed illusion, what else are they hiding? What truths about our origins, our potential, and the universe itself have been suppressed? And if they're willing to go to such lengths to keep us in the dark, what are they really protecting? Because here's the bottom line, if you control information, you control reality. And the biggest conspiracy of all, it's that most people will never even realize they're living in a world shaped by invisible hands. But if you've made it this far, you're already ahead of the curve. You're questioning, you're searching, and that makes you dangerous to those who want to keep you asleep, so ask yourself, what else aren't they telling us? And more importantly, are you ready to find out the truth?